Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup Council. How are we all? Hopefully, all of you are having a fantastic day, wherever we are around the world. And welcome back to our first match preview show for the brand new season. Of course, Liverpool are in the Community Shield. It's not really a final, is it? Let's be honest. Of course, it is the Premier League champions against the FA Cup winners in Crystal Palace. Again, obviously, it's a repeat of the final game from last season. Of course, let me know your guys' thoughts on the game coming up. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Of course, Crystal Palace currently up in the air at the moment, aren't they? Due to, of course, them getting excluded from the Europa League due to part ownership or whatever, it'll blind trust, whatever you want to call it. I think for every Palace fan, I think John Textor is an absolute evil man. And of course, all of them are fuming with it. But look, we are here to talk about the football. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts. Obviously, going ahead for Liverpool v Crystal Palace as well. I think it will be a good game, to be fair. But big up Cal as well. Kansas City Chiefs fan as well. Hopefully doing well, Cal. Always listen to me about Hendrik Glenn just because he's got the number 9 shirt. Like, he is a flop. Like, I don't care, Ricky lad. He's a flop. And no, I don't call him that, Callum. I will take your mod chip away. Like, I will honestly do it. Don't test the waters, lads. But no, all serious. No, I think Barcola. Look, obviously the Isaac one. That's plan A. Plan B is not really an option, is it, at the moment? Certainly when plan A is going to happen, maybe next week could be a big week for Liverpool. And of course, offering Newcastle the money for Alexander Isak. Because again, Newcastle are now finally getting the players in the door. Of course, it looks like they're going to get Louisa, and of course they are looking at a striker that isn't Colomwani. By the looks of it, it's going to be Samu. Again, I call him Samu. If anybody knows him, obviously playing Football Manager, he's an absolute beast on FM. And of course, it looks like as well they could be going after Nicholas Jackson, but still, it does look like that Liverpool and Alexander Isak could still happen this summer. And again, I'll be looking forward to seeing him in a red shirt anyway. But don't you ever talk down on Hendrik as well. Your love obsession for Hendrik is weird. No, all goodness aside. Look, maybe he might be given more an opportunity now under Xabi Alonso, but I don't know. I think it's a make or break year for him, especially when you've got what's his name? Gonzalo Garcia, is it? The other striker that performed well in the Club World Cup. Look, I think it's probably a make or break year for Hendrik in that regards. But looks like Isak will happen now fully. Yeah, absolutely. I think it will happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. Now, because again, I think even Craig Hope and other reporters are coming to the realization of it's going to happen, and it just needs Liverpool renegotiating with Newcastle. Of course, some people think the deal's already agreed in some sense, or at least Newcastle have put it out there of the price that they want. Again, that's not the £150 million that Newcastle fans seem to scream about, because let's be honest, Newcastle are not going to get that. And look, it obviously with them going after and trying so desperately to go and get strikers, it's quite clear that they want to find a replacement before getting, letting go of Alexander Isak. And Bobby Hendrik Charlton, favorite player of all time, wasn't he? To be fair, but bring him to Anfield as well. Yeah, no, thank you. Would rather. Will Bright as well, big up the Will Bright. Anyway, but speaking, of course, more on this game. Now, of course, it is at Wembley on Sunday, 3 p.m. kickoff, which is a bit weird. And look, I'm looking forward to it. Of course, it is the first proper competitive game Liverpool will play. Of course, it's the first, obviously, Community Shield that Arne Slot has been a part of. And look, obviously, our record against Palace isn't so bad. Like, of course, we haven't. Of course, Arne Slot didn't lose to Crystal Palace last season. Of course, we ended up drawing at Anfield and winning away from home. But look, I think obviously it's a big game for a few other players as well, and certainly I think team selection will be a bit of a mixed bag in terms of what people expect. I think, of course, obviously the injury news for Liverpool is that Conor Bradley is most likely out injured for the game. Joe Gomez as well, he's also out. But I think what is interesting is the fact that Arne Slot mentioned that Alisson could feature for Liverpool, which I think that is interesting for sure. Like, look, we've not seen Ali at all, have we, throughout pre-season, apart from the 45 minutes against, or a bit longer than that, against AC Milan, which I think, looking at it in my overall perspective, I think when you look at it, Ali probably doesn't play in this game, or at least doesn't start for Liverpool, because again, he hasn't had the pre-season preparation like we've seen Mamardashvili have. And I think, Giorgio Mamardashvili has done very well. I think the game against Atletico Bilbao, he made 2 or 3 really, really good saves. And again, I don't think Liverpool are in any danger. That's not lie about this. Mamardashvili's looked quite decent in pre-season so far. So, look, I'm okay with Ali not starting, but also as well, just to bring him slowly into it. It's similar with McAllister, for example. Like, I think Alexis McAllister, in my opinion, doesn't start because, again, he's only had about 60, 70 minutes worth of football in his legs, because, again, he's slowly been coming back from fatigue from last season, which, again, I think obviously having the likes of Dom Szoboszlai now drop in a bit deeper as well, I think that will massively help the likes of Alexis McAllister throughout the entirety of the season. I think, Arne Slot has been very honest, hasn't he, about how last year we really probably overplayed Maka at times, because, again, he didn't really or didn't necessarily trust certain players. And again, when we talk about the whole team in itself, again, dropping Maka in a few games, again, it didn't make sense to do it. But I think obviously with all the football that McAllister has played, I think since 2022, it's unbelievable. I think Maka's in the top 1% that has played, the most amount of games in that period as well. So, look, obviously Maka's has been taking the preseason slowly. But again, I think having Dom alongside Ryan Gravenberch, in my honest opinion, will massively benefit Dom. I think Dom, certainly in that Atletico Bilbao game, was really, really good. And I think you did get to see his quality in that game as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts on team selection and other bits and pieces as well. We're going to talk about Palace a bit briefly, of course, as well. But again, I want to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But Cal says, no offense to Nunes, but I'm glad he's gone. He's had so many annoying... look, I will always love Darwin Núñez because he gave 100%. Look, he was frustrating, and yes, you would pull your hair out 9 times out of 10 because Darwin would do that. Look, there's no real ways about it. Darwin would make you so frustrated, you'd be fuming with yourself. As Birmingham just gone 1-0 up. But honest to God, I think, in my opinion, I think that, again, I want players that are like that for Liverpool. Look, the thing is, like, Liverpool now are going to have 2 elite strikers at the football club, or one that's going to become very elite. I think Hugo Ekitike, I've said it to you guys if you're long-term viewers of the channel, was my perfect replacement for Alexander Isak if we couldn't have got him. But now we're going to end up getting both, or by the looks of it, we're going to get both Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak. And with that being said, I think with how good Ekitike already looks, Liverpool now, it's not going to be so frustrating up top, because even though Ekitike will have chances, the amount of creativity he will also create for the likes of Mo Salah, Cody Gakpo, Florian Wirtz. There's so many different options and combinations that we've already seen, in pre-season so far. So look, I'm very much excited to see the forward line, but of course, with Darwin going, it is a bit sad because, look, like I said, I think you want players that give 100%, and Darwin does that, and he did do it for us. So I can't really complain on. I don't think anybody can complain about that, because again, he's given us really frustrating moments, but he's also given us really, really good moments in terms of Newcastle away, Brentford away, and look, there's probably 1 or 2 others that's not coming to my mind straight away, but those two in particular, certainly Brentford away, that was huge for the title, and that will always be Darwin Núñez. Brentford away, Darwin Núñez, and Newcastle away as well. But yeah, look, I'm very much looking forward to seeing Liverpool's front line now for next season. Ekitike already looks so much more promising. Yeah, I think he's definitely going to settle in very well at Liverpool. He's technically very, very good. And again, it's a perfect on a slot striker. Very technical, really good on the ball. Yes, can improve in little areas, but obviously with Arne Slot's coaching, we've already seen last season how he got different elements out of certain players. I think even Virgil van Dijk spoke about it, how he got more out of him, which is, again, when we talk about Virgil van Dijk being the best defender in the world, for him to think that he's getting more out of the coaching now, I think it's great. And of course, hopefully for this season, we'll start to see it with the likes of Rio and Guma and other players as well. Do you think Isak comes? Yes, James, I do. Big up Alex as well, saying new to the channel. Big up. Well, thank you for joining me. Hopefully you are well. Obviously, Casas Weckle and Alex. Birmingham scored. For any betters, yeah, no, they did score. I've got the game on in the background. To be fair, was it Stanfield who scored? To be fair, Ipswich have looked pretty poor considering they are the team that's favoured to go up in the Championship for sure. Relegated teams have a habit of always performing on their own return to the Championship. Yeah, that's true. But to be fair, Birmingham, I don't think Birmingham are going to be relegation contenders. I think Birmingham will probably be top end of the Championship, maybe even playoffs. Playoffs, I think, is a push, to be fair. I think maybe 10th, 11th in the Championship. I think that's going to be where they are next season. But to be fair, they could have the double whammy effect, similar to what Wolves did. Wolves went back to back, didn't they? In terms of they went from League One to Championship and then to Premier League instantly. So that could also be another option. That does happen anyway. But we will take a look then into both teams' pre-season results. So as I move my head there, as you guys can see, but obviously for Liverpool, obviously we beat Atletico Club or Atletico Bilbao, how we want to pronounce them. Obviously two games, obviously 4-1 and the 3-2. Obviously we played the game in Japan that we won 3-1, lost to Milan, and also beat Preston. That's been our preseason so far. And then when you look at Crystal Palace, lost recently to Augsburg. Again, beat Augsburg again. Obviously, they had a doubleheader against them. Beat them. Obviously, they lost 1-0. They beat them 3-1. They beat Crawley Town 3-0. And that's been all of their preseason games. They've only had 3, considering Liverpool have had 5 and they've only had 3, which is a bit, it's a little bit weird, because you would have think they would have had 4 or 5 similar to Liverpool, but still, obviously Glasgow's got his own preferences. But we look at both teams' injury records as well. Obviously, like we said, Conor Bradley and Joe Gomez for Liverpool. Them two are the ones that are going to be out. So like we said, Ali's going to be fine, and other players are fine as well. But again, Conor Bradley a doubt for the game. And obviously, it says Joseph Gomez, but Joe Gomez is also out injured. And obviously for Crystal Palace as well, Decore a doubt for the game. And obviously, Nketiah, I think that happened quite recently, didn't it, with a hamstring injury? I think it was last week. I think it got confirmed that he picked up that hamstring injury. So a big blow for them, really. Which again, you probably most likely think Liverpool are going to end up playing the same type of team that we played against on the last day of the season. Because again, I think the big thing for Palace, and again, like I said, I want to talk about them a bit briefly. I think the big thing, certainly for them, is the fact that they've got Mark Gahey and obviously Eze at the start of the season. I think that's been huge for them. Now, do I think both of them stay until the transfer window closes? No, not personally. I think, of course, for Liverpool are looking at Mark Gahey at the moment. I think even Glasner spoke about it earlier on, saying that for him, he thinks that, of course, the player makes the decision in the end on where he ends up staying. Obviously, Crystal Palace at the moment want him to sign a new contract. He does have 1 year left on his current deal, but we know that by the looks of things, Mark Gahey will most likely leave Palace this summer, but still with, what is it, like 20 odd days left of the transfer window. The days are slowly going down, and again, with, I think even now with Chelsea now, we know that they have lost Levi Colwell due to an ACL injury. I do think you're probably going to be looking at Chelsea coming into the door with a bid, or at least going to be looking at targeting Mark Gahey to replace Levi Colwell, because that is such a huge loss for Chelsea. So again, on a Liverpool aspect of things, Liverpool are going to have to be quite quick around it on which centre half they're going to go for. Of course, we know from obviously reports and journalists that Liverpool are looking at Gahey, but they're also looking at alternatives. They're looking at the fella from Parma. They're looking at again the Greek centre half from Wolfsburg as well. So there's plenty of other options that Liverpool could go for this summer. But of course, as we know, Liverpool need to sign a centre half, and at the minute, obviously the favourite is Mark Gahey, because again, 1 year left on his contract. Price wise, of course, Palace want around 40-45 million pounds. Liverpool do not want to pay that. I think Liverpool want to pay around 30 million for him. And again, will Palace end up doing that? I'm not so sure. But look, I think 30, even 40 million, I think for Mark Gahey is a really, really good deal, considering once again the player that you're going to be getting. Look, he's full of experience. He's obviously had experience in Chelsea, Palace, captain for the last couple of seasons. England's probably best centre half as well, I would say personally, and probably Thomas Tuchel's number one going into the World Cup. But of course, as far as we know, the big hiccup for Mark Gahey, certainly on a Liverpool aspect of things, is the fact that he wants first team football. He wants minutes. He wants to basically be the partner to Virgil van Dijk. Now, for me, if Mark Gahey signs, I don't think he is he is the number two alongside Virgil van Dijk. I think obviously that is Ibu Konate, but as we know, Ibu's injury history would suggest he's going to get some sort of injury throughout the season. And of course, when we talk about rotation, I think having a player like Mark Gahey, who again is very comfortable on both, left side and the right side, I think to have a player like that, his quality, his experience as well, I think it's a very, very good transfer to do. But still, whether or not Liverpool will actually end up doing it is another question in itself, because again, Liverpool have plenty of centre backs on their list. So I think there will be movement on a centre back half, probably after the whole Isak situation is sorted, or if we know Isak's going to happen, then I think obviously the centre back position will be the main focus then. But for Palace, I think the quicker, or at least the resolvement for them, will be to find out what's going to happen with Eze and Mark Gahey, because if they were to leave quite late onto the window, for Palace then to replace them, that would be huge, and a huge loss for Palace. We saw last season how it didn't work out when they tried to replace obviously Elise with 3 or 4 players that didn't really work out at times. So of course they'll be looking at trying to find alternatives for Elise, for Eze. So look, I think Palace are a really good team as well, and I think today they got heard obviously in the High Court. I think it was about the Europa League ban. Hopefully they get that overturned, because I think when you look into the details, look, I know people straight away go, oh, well, they didn't sign a certain document. Like, come on, like, really? Like, that's what we're going to do to stop them from being in Europa League? Like, come on, wake up. For me, I think it should be overturned, really. And Palace should be playing Europa League football instead of Conference League football. I think as well, that's why the Mark Gahey deal has been delayed as well, because their valuation, of course, they'll want to get as much money as possible, because in the Europa League, it's obviously money-wise, it's 10 times better than what is Conference League. Conference League is still huge for Crystal Palace, because again, they've not been in the competition in their history. But still, to have that fact that you're FA Cup winners and that has given you Europa League football and that's been taken away from you is huge, in my opinion, and I think it's wrong. But again, of course, Marinakis and his whole tribe that will try and get it banned again. So yeah, it's if you're a Palace fan, I understand your frustration, 100%. Alex says, as an African, Scout's really excited to watch Florian Wirtz at Wembley. Yeah, it should be good. Again, obviously, for Wirtz at the moment, the number one shirt seller. Obviously, that got released from Liverpool earlier on. And when you look at the numbers as well, it's unbelievable how many people have bought the new home kit as well, which again is great for the club. And again, when people talk about how can Liverpool spend, then that goes to show then, really, doesn't it? The Adidas launch has been the best in the club's history, which is amazing to see. And I think, 7 times more than from what it was last season, which it is unbelievable for the club, and great work from everyone involved, because again, the money side of things, we're talking hundreds of millions as well, which is great. But Carl says Mamadashvili, Frimpong, Canate, Van Dijk, Kirkes, Supposedly, Graf, Words, Gakpo, Ekatike, and Salah. Of course, that's Carl's team. Feel good for the football to be back. Unfortunately, not as we planned. Why would it be unfortunate that we've not planned it? Again, I don't know what you mean by that. Hello, Ben. Hello, Benjamin. Again, that profile picture, every time. It says, hi, everyone. How are you? I'm very good, thank you, mate. Hopefully you're doing well as well. Obviously, football is kind of back. Because, again, as I'm just watching Ashley Young come on for Ipswich, Jesus Christ, I feel old. But yeah, obviously football's back. If anybody does have a bet on, then let me know how you lot are doing. But John says, hi Con, thoughts on the vice captain role? Who do you think it should be? I think it should be Mohamed Salah. I think obviously Arne Slot hasn't confirmed it, or the club haven't confirmed it yet, but you'd think it's Mo. But it could be Robbo as well. I know Robbo's not going to play much this season, or he's not going to be the starter because Milos Kerkez is going to be. But as of things right now, I think it could easily be Robbo, could be Ali as well. But that obviously it's the leadership group, isn't it? I think obviously the club will try and think. I think Arne Slot. I think judging from the Bilbao game, it's either going to be Robbo or it's going to be Mo. And I think it will be Mo, because I think it was a couple of weeks back with Arne Slot spoke about the captaincy role, spoke about Virgil, and then spoke about Mo about it. So yeah, I think it will be Mo for vice captain. Jotted that. Oh no, that makes sense. To be fair, anyway, but getting into starting 11 predictions then for the game, I will quickly go down because I don't have it on the top. That's terrible from me. But this is my starting 11 prediction for Liverpool. It's exactly what Cal said, to be fair. So fair play. But yeah, my starting 11 prediction for the game on Sunday: Mamadashvili in goal. I think again, Mamadashvili has played pretty much the entirety of preseason. Ali unfortunately hasn't, obviously due to personal reasons, and of course come back a bit late, didn't he, at the beginning as well. So I think it will be Mamadashvili. I think Frimpong and Kerkez. Look, I spoke very highly about Frimpong and how I think he should start over Conor Bradley right now. Look, don't get me wrong, I think Conor Bradley is amazing. Of course, the injuries is not great either. But I think when you saw Jeremy Frimpong pretty much put Nico Williams in his back pocket, even though, look, again, it's preseason. Nobody cares. But the fact that I think the majority, or at least some Liverpool fans, were very much optimistic that Liverpool could go out and get Nico Williams. The fact that we got now a right back that is full of pace, but also defensively looks very, very good. I thought he was really good defensively against Bilbao. Of course, Frimpong will get tested at times, but I thought he was very, very good against Atletico Bilbao. Centre backs, of course, they are the same, Virgil and Canate. Midfield, Grav, Szoboszlai, Wirtz. That is probably our best midfield of pre-season. Of course, McAllister would also be in that. I think if we're talking about Bournemouth next week, if Maka is 100%, I think Maka gets in that team. If I'm being honest, I think Grav, Maka, and Wirtz. I think that's the midfield three for Bournemouth next week. Obviously, week today. So, but again, even if it is Dom, I'd be happy with it. And I think Liverpool. I think Arne will be happy with it as well, because Szoboszlai a bit deeper is looking very, very good. And we talk about a box-to-box number 8. Dom is amazing at it. But look, I would say that if it's Maka or if it is Dom, then again, I don't care. I'll be very happy if it's both. But obviously, front three, I think it writes itself. Now, I did see people saying start Rio in this game. Look, maybe Arne Slot might treat it as a preseason game. I don't think he will do. I think the whole Community Shield curse at the minute is becoming a real thing. Every team that's won it over the last 5 years, which has been City some of the times and then Liverpool, but recently every team that has won the Community Shield over, I think, the last 5 to 7 years has had a pretty poor season after it. So yeah, hopefully Liverpool don't win it in that sense. But look, all joking aside, I think we will treat it as again, a competitive game. Because again, if you ask Mikel Arteta or Pep Guardiola, they declare it as a major trophy. Now, is it a major trophy? No, it's not. I don't consider the Community Shield as a major trophy. But then some people do, which I think is a bit of a debate in itself. But look, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Maka, Robbo, Salah, top 3 favourites as well. Yeah, I think so, 100%. Give us your scoreline and goal scorers, Con. Well, I've gone. I think it'll be. What do I think? I think it will be 2-1 Liverpool. I don't think there'll be much in it. But yeah, I've gone 2-1 Liverpool. Which normally does, that is Palace Liverpool. It's Liverpool, nicking it in like the 88th minute. Which I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go. What are we going to go? Salah and Ekitike for the goal scorers, for me anyway. But again, let me know your score predictions in the comments. But Kazcon ended up with 3-1 Liverpool. Canate 88th minute. Yeah, well, to be fair, I think that would end up being his only 6th goal for Liverpool. Which when you actually look at Canate's goal scoring record, for a big guy on corners, it's not really great. But look, Purple Patch Ibu back in April 2022, unbelievable player. Scored against City at Wembley, and also scored against Benfica away, wasn't it? Which again, I think we all remember that anyway. Did that for Ben. He wanted specifics as well. Jesus Christ. To be fair, Ben will ask you weird questions, very weird questions. Anyway, but Arteta reckons second is a major trophy. True, that is true. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Arsenal finish second this season. Maybe next week we'll do a Premier League prediction show. But yeah, I don't think Arsenal finish second, in my opinion. Shock, I think Arsenal finish 4th. In my opinion, I think Arsenal finish 4th. I think 3 teams get above them next season. I think the wheels start falling off, and he gets sacked. That's my prediction anyway for the season ahead. But you're a weird question. I am a weird question. I'm a weird human being. Anyway, but do a game week 1 prediction stream. We could do, but I think we'll end up doing a Premier League prediction show. Or vid. We'll end up doing one or the other, to be fair. But either way, I think Arsenal will finish 4th this season, which again, I might get a bit of criticism for, but I'm just saying it as it is. But yeah, of course. Anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts on Palace against Liverpool. Very excited to see the Reds back in action. Of course, it is Sunday, like I said. It will be on, I believe, TNT. But of course, it is at Wembley, 3 p.m. kickoff, which again, for a Sunday game, is weird. It's a weird time to kick off anyway. But look, in my opinion, I've gone Liverpool 2-1 winners. Hopefully, the curse of the Community Shield goes away, and hopefully Liverpool break that curse. But yeah, again, it'd be great to see the boys back in action. Anyway, but hopefully you guys have a good rest of your nights. Anyway, tomorrow we will have a video on the channel. We're going to talk about. Actually, to be fair, I'm not too sure what's going to be on the channel tomorrow, but there will be a video up anyway. So make sure you are staying tuned. Make sure you do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell, because yeah, YouTube don't push it out either way. So obviously go and obviously subscribe to the channel if you are new. Palace scorer Eze, why not? Actually, no, not Eze, Mateta. Because Mateta performs at Wembley all the time. So like. He battered City, didn't he? Really, let's be honest. But no, look, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your nights anyway, and have a good weekend, whatever you're doing, of course, over the weekend. But yeah, no, there will be probably a pre-recorded show tomorrow, or if there's any news around Isak or anyone else regarding Liverpool, then we'll be live as usual anyway. But hopefully you guys have a good rest of your nights, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. But I've been Connor from the Cop Council. We'll see you guys later on. Ta-ra.